Hey there, it's CJ Willie, and it's time for a review video. I just finished cracking open the booster packs out of my Duskmourn House of Horror Play Booster box. If you haven't checked out those 6-pack cracking videos, I've added the links to each of those videos in the description below, so go and check them out. I found Duskmourn to be a very fun set to crack open. Really enjoyed the playability of the mechanics, and the cards were pretty cool as well. All those cards from the Play Booster box fit within the bundle, which is really nice. That's typically what I look for. Checking out the cards that I pulled from this box. Start off with the commons. Got all the foils right up front here. Interesting part about the commons, with the Play Booster boxes, you typically are going to get anywhere between 3 and 4 versions of each common. From this booster box, that didn't really change. Most of the commons saw exactly 3 copies. With draft booster boxes, or back in the day booster boxes, typically you could get a play set of all the commons. The other interesting thing about the commons was that in the set, each color had 15 commons. There were 5 artifacts and a single land in the common slot. Some of these cards are really cool, harken to the haunted house theme that Magic was going for. With each of the colors, the breakout was roughly around 45 to 50 cards pulled from each common. There were a couple of interesting notes I found in opening up this booster box. The distribution throughout the box was very predictable, and then sometimes if you didn't mix up the packs throughout the box and you're going to do a draft, most often you would see commons bunched together in those packs, which I think with random pack collation that should be a lot better. Belmerk Leech was one of the commons that I only pulled 2 of. There's one other common that I didn't get many copies of. In fact, I only got 1 copy of. I'll show that here in just a second. Get through the black commons. And that one was Clockwork Percussionist. I'll go over why that was a little bit of an oddity here in just a second. Like I said, pretty much pulled the same amount of commons from each color. The 2 highest colors were blue and green. I pulled 49 commons. And the lowest was red, though it's a little misleading why that was quite a bit lower. Nothing too notable out of the commons. Some of these cards were fun in draft. Say Its Name was a really fun card if you could get multiple copies of it in draft. It reduced the cost of one of the uncommons, Altenac. You didn't have to pay for the cost. You could put it directly onto the battlefield. Okay, a little bit about the lands. There were 25 basic lands in the set. I pulled 23 of the 25 basic lands. Fell 2 lands short. Part of the reason why I didn't like that was quite a few duplicates in the land cycle. I didn't pull I believe it's the black-red land Razortrap Gorge, which was a little bit bothersome. Terramorphic Expanse is actually part of the commons set. Oh, these full art basic lands are really pretty. I didn't pull the other basic planes. So, out of the 25 basic lands, I missed out on pulling 2 of the basic lands, whereas with the commons, I pulled all 81 commons. With 6 duplicate basic lands, I think Wizards can do a lot better in guaranteeing each of the lands in the basic land slot get put into booster boxes. Uncommons, a little bit of a bummer. There's 100 uncommons. I fell 5 uncommons short. With the amount of duplication in the uncommon slot, I really think Wizards should make sure that there's at least 1 copy of every uncommon. Ethereal Armand, that was a reprint from Return to Ravnica, great card. Most of the uncommon slot There was a single copy, some duplicates, not that many. I think each color may have seen 3 or 4 duplicate uncommons. Now there were 15 uncommons in each color. The multicolor slot had 20 uncommons. The artifact slot had 5, and there were no uncommon lands. Cursed Windbreaker was a fun card in draft. Some of these uncommons I think are pretty powerful. Live or Die was a fun card to play. Nowhere to Run I think is a great uncommon. Valgavoth's Faithful was a great uncommon, especially in the reanimation decks. Go through some more of these uncommons. I've set aside, I think, 4 or 5 uncommons that have a little bit of value to them, over $1 or $2. There's Altenac. So that was the uncommon that if you had a lot of say its name in your draft pool, you could put Altenac directly onto the battlefield. Get this last group of uncommons right here. Patchwork Beastie was a fun card in draft as well. Multicolor slot. I pulled all of the multicolor cards, which was pretty good. From the uncommon slot, I missed out on pulling Optimistic Scavenger. That's a white uncommon. Killer's Mask, it's a black uncommon. Pyroclasm, it's a reprint from years past, red uncommon. And then I missed out on 2 green uncommons, Rootwise Survivor, and one of the rooms, which was Greenhouse Rickety Gazebo. Most of the uncommons, like I said, 1 copy in the play booster boxes, and then the artifact uncommons. A lot of modern looking cards, which I'm not sure how I feel. I'm more of the high fantasy, but I didn't mind it. All right, I'm going to hold off on these cards right here for just a second. So there were a handful of cards that had a spooky version to them. I think I'm going to use Clockwork Percussionist as the example, since that is the card that I barely had 1 copy of when I opened up the booster packs. I did pull 2 copies at common, but there's a slightly different variation in the art. The reason why it's called spooky, here's the card number from the base set. Here is the alternate art. Up in this corner, you can't see anything. Down here, it's got like a ghost-like figure, a spooky ghost-like figure. That's the main difference between those cards, was just a little added spooky figure to it. Another card that had that, and it's really hard to tell, is Norn, and the difference is the spooky art up here in the left-hand corner. And then there are showcase versions of uncommons and rares. Under the skin is the showcase version of that green uncommon. All right, into cards that had some value. There are some uncommons that had some value. Shelter by Ghosts is around $4. I got 2 copies of that. Withering Torment bounces between $2 and $3. Untimely Malfunction has really gone up. It's around $4 as well. 2 copies of that. I complain about duplication, but I won't complain about getting uncommons with a value over $1 as duplicates. And then a Withering Torment showcase card. For the rares, pulled a few of the rooms. Surprisingly, the value for the rares and mythics out of this set, there's quite a few that have a value over $2, and there's a handful that are right around in the $5 to $7 range. So that gives it a little added oomph to the Duskmourn set. Toby Beastie Befriender. One of my favorite rare cycles in the set is the Enduring cycle. There's 1 for each color. Enters the battlefield the first time as a creature, and then once it dies, it returns to the battlefield as an enchantment. So for instance, Enduring Curiosity enters the battlefield. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. When it dies, return to the battlefield under my control as an enchantment, and it continues to get this middle ability. There was a cycle of ley lines at 1 of each color. Didn't really hold much in the way of value. Mind Skinner, absolute blast in draft. Fun card to mill your opponent out. Come back wrong. Doomsday Excruciator. Great card with Valgavoth Faithful, that uncommon, in a reanimation deck. Enduring Tenacity. This one is whenever I gain life, my opponent loses that much life. So another strong card out of that Enduring cycle. Unholy Annex, Ritual Chamber was a great card in draft as well. Chainsaw, all the memes around that in the past few months. Enduring Courage, this was the only duplicate rare out of the box. Typically, I'd be upset if I pulled duplicate rares in the box unless they've got value, but this Enduring Cycle is really great. This one is whenever another creature I control enters, it gets +2/+0 and gains haste until end of turn. Great card. Fear of Missing Out, that's a card around $7. Another, the Leyline Razorkin Needlehead is around $3-4. Waltz of Rage. Enduring Vitality. Each of my creatures can tap and add 1 mana of any color. It's pretty strong. Twitching Doll. The bundle art is one of the creepiest arts I've seen in Magic the Gathering. A couple of rooms here. Restricted Office, Lecture Hall, Roaring Furnace, Steaming Sauna. Undead Sprinter, Victor Valkavoth Central. Zimone was pretty fun in draft too. Created a lot of math headaches. The land cycle at rare is great. I love this land cycle. I'm excited for Wizards to finish out the cycle. There would be 20 total lands. These lands enter, automatically tap for 1 color. Then once you have one of the 2 land types, swamp or mountain, it activates the other color. So these cards don't even need to have basic lands on the battlefield. Shock lands, triomes, etc. can activate these as well. I pulled 3 of them: Blazemire Verge, Gloomlake Verge, and Thornspire Verge. If I remember correctly, one of these was the 3rd highest valued card out of my box, and I think it was Gloomlake Verge. And that would make sense. Blue-black is a pretty popular color. Valgavoth's Lair. Couple of the showcase rares: Ghostly Dancer, Ghost Vacuum. It's around a $5 card. And then one of the borderless arts, Razorkin Needlehead. Pretty cool card indeed. All right, off to the Mythics. I pulled 8 Mythics out of this box. That's the most Mythics I've pulled out of a Play Booster box. Usually I average around 4 or 5, but 8, fantastic. Dollmaker's Shop, Porcelain Gallery, The Wandering Rescuer. The highest valued card out of my box, Abhorrent Oculus. Such a fun card. I played that one time in draft and just absolutely loved it. Meat Hook Massacre 2. Definitely not as strong as the first Meat Hook Massacre out of Innistrad Midnight Hunt. Still a card that was fun to play. Charred Foyer Warped Space. Overlord of the Boiler Bilges. Hauntwoods Shrieker. Overlord of the Hauntwoods. The 2nd highest valued card out of the box, around $15-ish. I think Abhorrent Oculus is around $17-18. Those are market prices from TCG Player. And then the foils. So let me talk about the foils really quickly. The collation for foils pretty much followed every Play Booster box that I've opened. Around 20 common foils, 10 to 12 uncommon foils, and then 7 to 8 basic land. This box, when it came to the higher rarity in foils, fantastic. For the first time, I got over 5 total foils in the box that were at either rare or mythic. So in the rare slot, 2 rare foils, Grievous Wound, Restricted Office, Lecture Hall, and then I pulled 3 foil mythics. I've never pulled 3 foil mythics in any box that I've opened, so this was indeed awesome. Overlord of the Mistmoors, Funeral Room, Awakening Hall, and the showcase art of Meat Hook Massacre. Rounding out the last grouping of the box, typically are double-faced nowadays. For instance, there's a Glimmer and a Manifest token on the back. I really like how Wizards have made the tokens a little more valuable. And then the punch out card for the set, which comes in handy. Though these get easily lost. I think one-time usage and that's about it. And then the art cards. I do like the art cards. Not really into collecting them. Not sure what I'm going to do since I've got a pile of them when they were first introduced, I think all the way back to Battle for Zendikar. Alright, that was a review of all the cards that I pulled from my Duskmourn Play Booster Box. Value-wise, I paid roughly $120 for this Play Booster Box. Total value pulled from the box was $185 and some change, so about a $60 increase. Average pack value was around $5.12, which is pretty good. And then adjusted pack value, where I only take into consideration cards with a value of $1 or more, $3.87. So definitely a box that I thoroughly enjoyed opening and got some pretty good value and some great cards. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, please like, subscribe, and share. Tell me in the comments section what you think about these pulls. Till next time when I'm back with another Magic the Gathering opening experience.